Welcome to another video from Demystifying Proposals, Making Proposals Make Sense. In today's video, we're going to talk about storyboards and the perfect pink team draft, how developing storyboards can help you develop a more complete first draft. First, we're going to talk a little bit about pink team writing and what that means. So here's a reminder for what you should do as a writer in preparation for pink team. For the pink team drafts, using the products from Capture, including any briefs on win themes, discriminators, or other Capture documents, you want to create your drafts using that information. Remember, compliant and compelling. That's what we're going to drive for. At Pink Team, the proposal manager and the reviewers are looking for a response to every element of the outline. So 100% complete compliance, but not every section has to be written 100% complete. We're just looking for about 80% complete sections. So what exactly do storyboards look like and how can they help you with your Pink Team? So when do companies do storyboards? Sometimes they do them before the RFP drops, provided that you have a draft RFP or a previous RFP that you can use so that you know what the requirements are going to be. Or sometimes companies use them as the pink team, as long as you can get to a completed storyboard. Sometimes that meets the 80% draft content requirement. So sometimes companies use them as the pink team. The writers need to commit to completing the storyboards, not just outlining the solution, but actually developing the proof points and using the win themes. If they do this, then the outcome of the storyboards will be an incredibly strong pink team draft. So we're going to talk about the storyboard format and all of the different parts that go into it. The first part is the RFP requirements. This is usually put in by the proposal manager for the writer. You're breaking down the language of the RFP into the chunks that need to be written to. So you wouldn't give somebody an entire section of the language of the RFP. You'd break it down into smaller chunks so that the storyboard is just for that particular chunk. Similar to the proposal outline, you will need to address sections L and M. So both L and M would be in the RFP section for the storyboard. And then if you're writing to the technical approach, you would also put in the section C requirement for that particular storyboard. What are they actually going to be writing to for that storyboard? This is honestly the easiest part of the storyboard. The next part of the storyboard format is understanding and hot buttons. Understanding is what do you as the writer know about the requirement, and hot buttons is how does that requirement meet the customer's needs and mission. So you need to have enough of an understanding about how the requirement fits into the customers to be able to answer that hot button question. Asking the writer to understand each requirement and why that requirement is included in the RFP sometimes is challenging. So Capture needs to do that hard work of identifying why the procurement is happening at a detailed enough level that the writers can then use that in addressing the understanding and hot button section of the storyboard format. The third part of the storyboard format is the part that most people are going to be the most comfortable with, which is the what will we do or the solution. Some writers are intimidated by the word solution, even especially if the proposal is not an IT or technology driven solution. So sometimes we talk about what will we do? What are the steps we're going to do for the customer as a better way to frame it. Writers, like I said, are usually mentally prepared for this part of the writing. This is what they expected to have to do. So the fourth part of the storyboard format is proof points. What are you going to use, you as the writer, going to use to support your assertions that you know what you're doing? Usually that's past performance or kudos or CPARs that you're going to use to support the solution and how you're going to do the solution. If the storyboard format works the way that it should, writers will identify the compelling aspects of their sections earlier than at Pink Team, and proof points is part of that compelling. A solution without proof doesn't usually hold a whole lot of weight with the evaluators. You have to support why your way of doing things and your company as the ones who do it matters to the evaluators. If the past performance section is being written in parallel to the storyboards, this element of the storyboard may force those conversations earlier, which can be helpful in the proposal development process. So don't forget that you need to include that intra-volume compelling that will resonate even more strongly with the reviewers. So your past performance should speak to your storyboard should speak to your past performance. So the fifth part of the storyboard format is win themes. Which of the win themes from Capture is this section going to reflect? Sometimes a call out box with the proof points that you're going to use from section 4, and the so what of those proof points can address a win theme. If you haven't done a good job during Capture of identifying win themes, then this part of the storyboard can be difficult for the writers to develop. And honestly, that can be helpful during Capture. Maybe you need to revisit your win themes if they can't easily be tied to the RFP requirements and your solution to show how they meet the customer's needs. There are some caveats, obviously, associated with the development of storyboards. We're going to talk about those in this section. The big caveat, as you probably guessed from the previous slides, is getting the writers to actually do all of the sections of the storyboards is very hard. Most can come up with a nominal understanding, but maybe not with a whole lot of depth. Most can draft or outline a solution, but most will struggle with proof points, and they may only put in an acronym of what past performance or program they plan to use versus the actual proof point that supports their solution. You want to get them to draft the actual proof point, not just, I'm going to reference this program. What about that program is actually your proof point? And then proof points and win themes are often seen as the same thing in writers' minds, but your win themes should address a broader strategy for the proposal and create the ideas, if not the actual words, that the evaluators will then use as strengths and significant strengths when they do the evaluation of your proposal. Some other caveats are that storyboards require time and attention to complete, and therefore they require money. You have to invest time and energy into completing storyboards. So most often they're used for strategic bids, not every bid that the company is going to be working on. Getting to completed storyboards means other parts of Capture have to be completed as well. So your win themes need to be defined well enough that writers can understand them and use them in their storyboards. Your proof points need to be developed as more than just paragraphs of past performance that have been used in previous proposals. You have to start the hard work of mapping your past performance to this RFP. If you do it right, then including the compelling elements in the storyboard will also allow you to add them to the past performances and the resumes, leading to that inter-volume and intra-volume compelling that we believe wins proposals. One last caveat is if you do thorough storyboards, you'll end up with a detailed, compelling solution. However, you will also end up with a lot more information that likely will fit into the page limits of the proposal once you have the proposal instructions. So be prepared to disappoint the writers that not every nugget they've developed is going to make it into the final proposal for submission. So taking your storyboards to Pink Team, how do you do that? Once the final RFP drops, you should be able to take the storyboards for each section, incorporate them into the outline that you've developed, and that should create an 80% completed Pink Team draft. You put in the understanding, you put in the approach that's been part of your storyboard, you put in your proof points, you put in your win themes maybe, or at least make a note of which win theme, and then you can have your 80% completed Pink Team drafts with a minimum of additional effort until the reviewers do their thing. Then we'll see what happens from there. But even if you don't do storyboards, take the time to do the important pre-RFP prep. Develop win themes. What are your strengths? What are the things that you want the evaluators to note? And how are they going to be incorporated into the proposal? How are they informed by evaluating your competition with regard to your win themes versus what your competition's win themes might be? Proof points. You need to make sure that you have more than just a copy paste from previous proposals in your past performance repository. And don't forget to ensure that what you say in the technical volume is echoed in the past performance volume and the resumes and vice versa. And then you should develop in pre-RFP time before you have an RFP in front of you and you're going crazy with the calendar. What are you actually going to do for the customer? And don't forget to think about what your competitors are likely to propose and how your solution may be different or better. We hope you learned something from this video from demystifying proposals. Please click on the thumbs up to like the video and hit the bell to subscribe so you know when more videos come out. Thank you for your time.